All right, what's up, CSTS fam? Welcome to episode 1 of the Capital Strength podcast. I'm really excited to kick off this podcast, to be honest. It's been a long time coming. I've thought about doing one for years and finally pulled the trigger this year to get it going. I want this podcast to serve as a place for our community to learn more about the team behind Capital Strength. I want it to be an educational platform in the field of health, fitness, rehab, and business. And I'd like it to serve as a channel where we can highlight people from our community, within our community. And I'm really excited for the adventure ahead. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of guests on. This first episode will be just me. And it'll serve as kind of the foundation to the podcast where I get to tell my story, the story of how Capital Strength came to be, and the road it's been on since 2015. In this episode, you can expect to learn a little bit more about myself, how I founded Capital Strength, and the evolution of the business over the last 10 years. So let's start off with a little bit about me. For those who don't know me as well, I'm hoping by the end of this episode, you'll know more about me, where I came from, and how I started this whole thing. So I'm 37 years old, 87 birth year. I've been married for 7 years to my beautiful wife, and I have 2 wonderful children, 2 young boys, ages 4 and 1. Personally, my hobbies are golf. I've become a really big golf guy since 2020. I kind of got the bug like everybody else when there was nothing else to do but golf and be outside. Wasn't the best timing as I had my first child in 2020. My wife always likes to remind me that, but yeah, that's probably my favorite hobby right now. I'm still big into hockey, outdoors, camping, fishing, hunting, and guns. I've always been a big gun enthusiast ever since I was a little boy when we started playing cops and robbers, and it just kind of always stuck with me, so I've got a good collection. Interesting facts about me. I played football at a pretty high level, junior football, Ottawa Sooners. I mean, high for me, I guess, higher than the average guy. I only played one single year in 2008. It was really kind of strange. I picked it up late in university. I met someone who was just a huge influence on me at the time and led me down the football path. So I trained hard for a year, said, why not? Joined the Ottawa Sooners, or tried out, made the team, had a blast. And then my football career kind of ended really quickly when I got the opportunity to start my professional career, which we'll get into later. I used to powerlift from 2014 to 2019, so I did 5 years of powerlifting, just doing various meets a couple times a year. Powerlifting, for those who don't know what that is the competition of squat, bench, and deadlift for 1 rep maxes for a combined total. So I had a lot of fun doing that. I just needed something competitive after sports were done, and that was kind of my outlet for a while. So I say that I'm from London, Ontario, but really I was born in British Columbia in the small town called Golden. Some might know it if you're like into skiing or snowboarding. It's where Kicking Horse is. I could actually see Kicking Horse from my front yard as a young guy. I've got really great memories from British Columbia, and it's always going to be a part of my blood, in my heart. We go back every year to visit my brother who lives there now. My dad worked for CP Rail and took us that's why I left British Columbia. My dad was a project manager for CP Rail. Work took him to Golden, BC for several years. Like I said, when I was 5, we left and moved way over to Ontario, to a little town called Amherstburg, which is just close to Windsor there, right at the border. Dad's job transfers continued from that age of 5 until like 9 years old. I think I was in like 4 or 5 different schools in that period of time. Went from Amherstburg to Bowmanville, Ontario, back to Amherstburg, and then we finally landed in London, Ontario when I was 9. And that's kind of where I call home. So when people ask me where I'm from, I say London, Ontario, because I spent almost 10 years there, from 9 till 18 years old when I left high school for university. I'm fully bilingual. Another interesting fact, my dad's name is Pierre. from Sept-Îles, Quebec, so northern Quebec. Very thick accent, very French guy. He made sure that we learned French from a young age, and we were in fully French school from senior kindergarten all the way to grade 12. So that's just a little bit about me and my background. And I'm going to take you guys through kind of my school, university days to my professional career and like what happened there, how I got into the fitness world. So in 2005 is when I left London. That's when I graduated high school in grade 12. I left to go to Ottawa U, and honestly, there was no reason for me to go to Ottawa U other than my two best friends at the time, and I still consider them my best friends. They wanted to go to Ottawa U because their older siblings were in university there. So I said, well, why not? I'd like to leave home for university to get the full experience, quote unquote. I didn't really want to go to a city all by myself, so I decided to follow my two buddies. I applied, got in to human kinetics at Ottawa U, and that's kind of what brought me here. So human kinetics, I mean, why did I get into that? Well, the only real interest I had in high school was sports, human body, biology. We had like a kinesiology class in grade 12. That's kind of where my interests lied. So I just kind of followed that for no better reason than, I wanted to learn more about the human body. I know human kinetics would have some cool sport background to it. And one of my buddies that I went to Ottawa U with, he had twin older brothers, and they were both in human kinetics, one at Laurentian, one at Ottawa U, and they both like spoke so highly of the program. So I just figured, why not? Let's do it. I had no career path in mind at all. Just, excited to get to university, be away from home, and get that full experience. So, Ottawa U, I was there from 2005 till 2009. When I first got there, I think my initial idea was that I'd maybe become a physiotherapist. So, in order to kind of rule that out, I made sure to do some volunteer work in the physio world. I think towards the end of my first year, I did some volunteering at the Ottawa U Physio Clinic. And for whatever reason, it just seemed like not the thing for me. I'm not sure why, but I quickly kind of came to that conclusion. And I never really had an idea after that. I just kind of always told myself that I would just figure it out later. And I never really did, but we'll get to that in a little bit. In 2007, I think this is now I'm in my second year university, I decided to apply for a job at the gym, at the school gym, as what they called a blue shirt. So kind of like a fitness attendant. My job was just to, help people check into the gym, clean the gym, help members in the gym. It was just kind of, pretty simple job, but it got me in the gym. The staff was awesome. The hours were pretty great, just 4-hour shifts here and there, just, something to do to make a little bit of money. And as I, kind of started to work there more, I guess I became, I was obviously working out at the time too. Coming to Ottawa U and getting into HK is what got me into training the gym. I might have done a few workouts in the gym in grade 11 and grade 12, but never really got into it. But, it seemed to be the thing to do at university in the human kinetics program. Like all the guys worked out. It was just like a thing. So we had a really good group of guys that got me into working out. And that's what got me into getting a job at the gym. And then surely enough, after that, I thought that I'd, try becoming a personal trainer. So at the time, all I needed was like a CanFit course, which they still offer today. It's like a weekend course, but that was enough to be certified to work at the gym. And that's where my personal training career really kind of took off. I would train clients kind of in between classes on the weekends or in the evenings. It was decent money. I got to choose my own schedule and book my own appointments. So that was really, really nice being in university. I could decide my own schedule, and I could always work like a second job if needed to. And most summers I would work a second job. I do personal training and some sort of labor job. I know one year was like landscaping, 1 year was window washing, 1 year was roofing. I also picked up jobs at the bar, and it was very common for me to work 2 to 3 jobs throughout the summers, and then 1 to 2 jobs during the school year, just to pay for everything and take care of myself. In the fourth year of human kinetics, so this is my last year, you're kind of faced with the decision to do a research project or an internship. I remember at that point, maybe even wanting to do like teachers college post university, but I kind of slept on it and never took any of the proper classes to get me into teachers college. So this was kind of like my, you know, my last chance to try to, pick something. I was already into the gym. I was enjoying the personal training. I would never really thought that it'd be like a career for me, but I figured it'd be a good place to do an internship because I have some experience, but I also have lots to gain. So someone that I had met at the gym, just from being there all the time, who was in charge of the U Ottawa men's hockey team. I got to know him and talk to him, and he was working as their strength coach at U Ottawa for the men's GGs, but he was also working at an athletic training facility called Ottawa Sport Performance Center, also known as OSPC. So I remember getting into my fourth year and saying like, hey dude, like, you think you could maybe put me in touch with someone at OSPC and get me an internship? Like I'd like to, learn more about training athletes. And he sure enough, he got me an interview. I remember like it was yesterday, going in there, meeting the two owners and meeting my future partner. Didn't know that at the time, but they three of them interviewed me. They liked me. They offered me the position. And so I started off my fourth year doing my internship there. At the same time, I was trying out for the Ottawa Sooners football team again, and quickly realized that like all the hours that I'd have to put in with the internship would conflict with the practice schedule. So for the Ottawa Sooners, so it was kind of a fork in the road for me. It was like, keep playing junior football. We had a really good team. We had almost won the city final or the city championship the previous year. So I was like, really wanted to get the ring and play again, but it was either play football or do this internship. And I knew football was more just like a passion. And the right decision was to choose work over sports. So I dropped football and I started my internship at the Ottawa Sport Performance Center. So it was a pretty fun year. I continued to personal train at Ottawa U because that's how I paid my bills. And then I would do, I think it was maybe 10 hours a week of internship time at the Ottawa Sport Performance Center. And by the end of that year, after completing 100 hours, I guess I had, put enough time and made a good enough impression that they offered me a job to stay on that spring. So now we're talking 2009. Spring 2009, I got a job offer from the Ottawa Sport Performance Center, and I took it. So the decision I made to do the OSPC internship over football had paid off for me. And here I was starting my, career post-university as a personal trainer and strength coach. I kept both jobs going for quite some time until I think I got busy enough at OSPC to just drop personal training at Ottawa U. When I, became an employee at, a coach, an official coach at OSPC, I was mentored by Chris Schwartz. So if anyone who knows hockey in Ottawa should know that name. At the time, he was the strength and conditioning coach for the New York Islanders, and he would spend his summers in Ottawa, where he lived. He's from here. The summers at OSPC were pretty awesome. Like Chris had a bunch of NHL guys, European hockey players, guys who played in the European leagues, American League guys. And I got to mentor under him and really learn about training professional athletes. And that was like my first off season with hockey athletes. So for me, coming from a background of pretty much just training general pop at Ottawa U, my clientele would consist of students, professors, employees on campus, people in the neighborhood in Sandy Hill, very everyday, normal people. So to go from that to this was like, yeah, it was right up my alley. I loved it. I was able to put some more of the knowledge that I learned at school into work, and I gained a whole lot of knowledge just being around Chris and being around the guys and being around the staff there. They were all very, very, very smart with human kinetics or kinesiology backgrounds. The Ottawa Performance Center also had a clinic with an athletic therapist, a chiropractor, a podorthist. So I got to learn from the clinic staff as well. And it was just a great, great place for me starting my professional career, I guess. While I was there, I was in charge of, like I said, training the hockey athletes, training any athlete that would come in. But hockey was obviously, being in Ottawa, was a big market for the Ottawa Sport Performance Center. I should also mention that at one time it was called the Ottawa 67 Sport Performance Center. We sponsored the Ottawa 67's OHL team, meaning that I think we got a box to all their games, so that was fun back in the day going to watch those guys. But we were in charge of, like, we were the strength coaches for the OHL Ottawa 67s. So they would come into our facility a few mornings a week in season. So I got to, understand the true difference between off-season and in-season training, sport-specific training. And as a consequence of having the OHL 67s, we naturally got the contract for the AAA Ottawa Junior 67s, which is really where we built the hockey kind of reputation that we got at OSPC. We trained the age groups of like 1993s to 2000s over a course of like 5 years while I was there. So this was like anywhere from, I think at the time it was called, minor Bantam, although at some point during my time there, Major Pee Wee started having a AAA program. So Major Pee Wee to Major Midget, we trained all 5 age groups once a week. Naturally, from creating the relationships and building rapport with all these players, a lot of them came to us throughout the summertime. And that's how we kind of built our hockey program that we still run today at Capital Strength. I was, lucky enough to watch several of those players go to junior A, OHL, college hockey, NCAA, into professional, and some even to the NHL. So for me, it was a really awesome time in my career to meet all those guys, and I never knew it at the time, but I would follow them, and some of them still train with me today. I would follow them throughout their careers and help them get to several different levels and move forward through hockey. So during my time at OSPC, I also became a registered kinesiologist. So aside from all the hockey stuff that we did, I also got quite a few referrals from the clinic that shared the space at OSPC, and that kind of pushed me to get my registered kinesiologist certification, because it made me kind of recognized in the rehab world. My patients often would get covered for kinesiology due to whatever state they were in, if it was an accident or some sort of injury. So I began my kind of kinesiologist career shortly after starting at OSPC. I want to say a couple of years in. This might be 2011 now. And it was around that time where, I'd been working there for a few years, gained a lot of good friendships through the athletes and clients that I was training. I, made a name for myself in the hockey world. I was enjoying myself, I would say. Like, I loved what I did, but in the big picture, I wasn't sure that this would be the career for me to. It's not what I envisioned myself doing, having a family and being a strength coach. The hours were pretty strenuous. I worked anywhere from 6 a.m. till like 9 p.m., depending on the season. I'd have, early morning clients at 6. I would stay late with teams until, 9 o'clock. So it was like such satisfying work. And I learned so much, and I was so proud of what I was able to do every every day with my clients and my athletes, but it just became like an overarching kind of thing over my head where it was like, can I do this forever? Can I really make a living off this? So that curious side of me looked for something else. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I tried hard to become a police officer and get into the policing world. Between like 2011 and 2014, I applied to OPP, Kingston Police, Ottawa Police Service, and such a long, tedious process. It took probably 1 to 2 years for each of those police divisions. And I got quite far in all of the processes, pretty much to the end of each one, and just never ended up getting selected. They weren't hiring the way they are now. And yeah, it just wasn't in the cards for me. And at the time, I felt so devastated. I just really thought that was going to be the next chapter of my life, is becoming a police officer. And I got so close that I could taste it, and then it just kind of never worked out. So I ended up just staying at OSPC and then trying to think of like what was the next step for me going to be. Policing wasn't going to be it. I wasn't really sure about continuing to train people, so I had to really think about what was next. And at the time, myself and my 2 coworkers, who ended up becoming my partners, I think for respect's sake, I'll just refer to one as my older partner, who was 5 years older than me, and my younger partner, who was actually 5 years younger than me. I was like in the middle of the 2 of them. We became like really, really good friends over the course of I guess I worked there for probably 6 years. The younger partner joined in towards the last couple of years that I was there, but we all became really, really good friends and came up with the idea of starting our own gym. And that idea came to be because we just started to feel, I guess, like underappreciated in our current workplace. The owners of that gym at the time were what we refer to as silent owners. They had other businesses. One was retired, one was working. They had some side businesses, and we were more or less like a hobby business for them. It was our livelihoods, but for them, it was just kind of a hobby. If the gym had made money or didn't make money, it wasn't really the end of the world for them. They had some skin in the game because their kids were playing sports and their kids' teams came to train, and it was a fun place for them. But for us, like over time, we realized that we were ultimately building this business and working our bags off for other people who weren't in the business day to day, and they made all the decisions. And I think towards the end we clashed on some of the decisions that were being made and didn't really agree with them, but couldn't do much about it just because of where we were in their business. And so the 3 of us came up with the idea of starting our own business. And I mean, we had some experience in running their business for them. I had grown to acquire the assistant manager role, with my older partner being the general manager of the gym. Together the 2 of us learned the back end of the business as much as we could, or as much as we were kind of allowed to know. We did all the scheduling, all the managing, the hiring, the programming, the recruiting. That was all kind of taken care of by us, so we felt confident enough that we could repeat the process for ourselves. So I want to say, the door for policing shut on me sometime in 2014, probably around the fall, if I can remember right. Maybe the spring even, somewhere in there. And by January or February of 2015, the 3 of us came together, myself and my 2 partners, and we started to talk about doing it on our own. So the first step for us was to try to look for a potential location. Without having a location, we wouldn't be able to create a gym. So it was find a location first. So we, my older partner was kind of in charge of that, and he had found a few places in the area. the other thing that we were, aware of was if we went too far, likely the clients that we had gained or, the rosters that we had built up wouldn't be able to follow us. So location was key in making our next move. So we found a few places, and at the time we were looking for, I want to say the square footage was like anywhere from like 2,000 to 3,000 square feet was going to kind of fit the bill for us. We looked at some smaller places. We looked at one bigger place, and lucky enough for us, it was already a gym. It was just vacant. It had been vacant for almost a year. I guess the previous business that was there, they had some internal arguments, and one reason or another, they basically shut down and left the place empty. And it sat there on the market for quite some time. I guess, at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of gyms going up. Greco was a big name. Good Life and Movati were still very popular. There was the OAC that was in our neighborhood. And no one wanted it. So we went to go check it out, and it was like twice the size of what we had been looking for. Quite large. This place was almost 6,000 square feet, but the upside was that it was already a gym, so no renovations needed to happen, which meant a smaller startup cost, which was very attractive for us. Although the rent would be higher and the place would be way bigger, it at least gave us some room to grow. It had some office space within it that was used for a clinic in the previous gym model that was there, and that was interesting to us because having worked at OSPC and seeing how the referrals from the clinic to the gym and the gym to the clinic, how it was really a great part of their business, and a differentiator from other gyms like it, having the therapy right in there in-house was very attractive to us to take on this large location because it offered the opportunity or the potential to have a clinic like that one. So we talked to the landlords and we applied, and we were not a business by any means. We were just three schmucks who were working as personal trainers. The landlords didn't love the picture that we, I guess, brought as the three of us. So they asked us to personally guarantee the lease, which is quite scary for someone who's going out on a limb to begin with. It just means that if something were to go wrong or if we were to close, we were on the hook for the rent for 3 years. So that was a big pill for us to swallow. So we got a business plan going thanks to, I want to say one of my older partner's clients. He was a bit of a business guy and he offered to help us out. Just an Excel sheet with some fixed costs, some variable costs, some projected revenue from, month to month. We knew we had more of like a seasonal business with our hockey program, but the timing for us was pretty terrific because if we were going to sign the lease on this place, we'd take possession at the end of March, and our hockey program typically started in April. So we knew that we would be able to start with a lot of momentum, with a great program to get people through the door and to get cash into the business. So it was starting to make sense. So we gave our 30 days notice, which was a very scary time for us because we weren't sure how they were going to handle it. And, I don't blame them. They didn't take it that well, and neither would I if I was in their shoes. But, someone told me at one point, and, it's a very true statement that no one's going to look out for you but you. So we did exactly that and just kind of kept our focus and kept our plan, and we provided them our 30 days notice. We let them know what we were doing. They weren't too keen on us leaving and tried to keep us around, and they had good intentions, but we already had our minds made up and we wanted to do this. So the next step after that was getting together with a client of ours at the time who was a goalie by the name of Robin Billingham. And, I still work with him to this day. Robin Billingham owns his own marketing business called Billingham Agency. He was really the mind behind the colors and the logo and the branding that we still see and know today as Capital Strength. He He came up with the whole design without any input from us, I'm fairly certain. So he kind of got our branding going, and we signed our lease. We got the ball rolling. We ordered all of our equipment, and that was one really cool part for us, is that working for someone else, we were kind of under their guidelines on like what equipment we could buy or not buy. They had a budget, obviously, and they weren't gym guys, the previous owners or the silent owners of OSPC. So they always wanted to kind of go down like the budget route of purchasing equipment. And we were always so frustrated with that, because the equipment would break and then we'd have to replace it. And it just wasn't the elite level that we wanted for ourselves. So when it was time for us to purchase our own equipment, we made sure to go the extra mile to get really solid stuff. Being able to design the gym the way that we wanted to for the flow of the workouts that we wanted to run was also really, it was just a really awesome project for us. Like, we knew we wanted to imitate more of like a college weight room, lots of squat racks down the sides, lots of open space down the middle. We put in the turf, and we had an opportunity to really create a place that like we wanted to use for our business. And I'm really glad that we went the way that we went, because even today we still offer something very unique in the city. There's no other facility like ours that has the amount of space and squat racks and layout that we do, that allow us to do really great things when it comes to group training and team training. So we spent the month of March building the equipment. We got our shareholders agreement put in place, which, we were not business guys. We had no idea what we were doing. We did a very simple kumbaya 33, 33, 33 type of agreement, where we would all work just as hard. We would all get the same compensation. And that's kind of what kicked us off into business together. We got all of our bills set up, all of our equipment in. We did a paint job on the gym, a little bit of reno work, not much. It was pretty much good to go. And we got it going. And the crazy part about that time was, in that month of March 2015, I was living in like the Vanier, Saint Laurent area with my brother at the time. I decided to move in with my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, and she owned her own condo in Stittsville. So like financially, just about to open my own business. Not really sure how it was all going to work out. Moving in with her and splitting the bills with her made a lot of sense, but the drive certainly didn't. Having to now drive 30 to 50 minutes to work, depending on traffic, versus driving 5 or 10 minutes to work was a massive change for me, but the financial upside was worth it. So yeah, that was a crazy month. I moved out of my apartment into my girlfriend's place and opened a gym all at the same time. It was rather nutty, but we got it going, and we opened the doors to Capital Strength, I want to say on March 31st of 2015. So, it's pretty much April 1st, 2015 now, and we have ourselves Capital Strength. The foundation that we wanted to build this gym on was high-level coaching, developing a culture within our clientele of hard work, of dedication, of doing the simple things consistently, and we wanted to develop a community. And those were kind of the three things: coaching, culture, community, that Capital Strength was built on. And I want to say is still very much part of our framework and our fabric. The philosophy that we wanted to use was just like, kind of a buzz term, functional training, just using fundamental movement patterns. If you've ever been to Capital Strength, there are no real machines. It's just squat racks, barbells, dumbbells, turf, open space, because that's how we've thought and still believe that people should be trained. We want to be, able to move freely. We want to be able to not be tied down to machines. We knew we were going to have a lot of athletes and athletic population, and that's the way we saw the best type of training kind of moving forward. So that's how the gym was kind of built on that philosophy. And so what I'm going to do now is take you through what I want to call the 4 eras of Capital Strength. The last 15 years have gone through several changes, from 3 partners down to 1. There's a pandemic. a lot of stuff, more than I ever thought that I would come across when starting business. So the four eras will be the beginning, which kind of take us from 2015 to 2017, then sole ownership, and then the pandemic, and then post-pandemic, which is kind of where we are today. All right, so chapter one, era number one, the beginning. We opened up in spring 2015 and we hit the ground running with our hockey program. We, during the month of March, we had kind of let all of our clients know that we were going to be at a different location if they wanted to continue working with us. And they found us. We had an amazing start to that spring, a very, very busy hockey program, which we knew we could put together. Everyone was super impressed with our new facility and very fired up. The energy in the gym was extremely high, and the three of us were extremely proud of what we had done in such a short period of time. It was a very athlete-focused year. The hockey program kind of ran us right through the end of summer into the fall, where we started our first year with the Ottawa Maverick Volleyball Club. We are now going into our 10th season with the Ottawa Maverick Volleyball Club, and we just had our 10th summer with our hockey program. So both of those streams of revenue are still going strong. And I think, towards the end of that summer, once we started with our Ottawa Maverick volleyball contract, is kind of where we started to realize that, as much as we had some really good athletic programs going on, we really needed to grow the personal training and adult fitness class population within our gym, because that's, that was the gap in our business model that we had. So we started to try to drum up more business in the PT and capital crew world. In that first year is really where we learned headfirst how to run a business, finances, accounting, scheduling, staffing, marketing, all things that were out of my comfort zone for the most part. I mean, had some experience in all of them, but not to the degree of owning your own business and operating a facility all on our own. So, we learned what we could in that first year, and I would say I kind of took the lead on a lot of that stuff. That's just the nature of my personality. I kind of find myself at the forefront of most things. I've always been a little bit of a leader from a young age. That's just comes natural to me to try to get to the head of the line and to figure things out. But our first year was really focused mostly on high quality coaching, high quality programming, because that's what we knew best. There was 3 coaches that came together to open a business, but we knew nothing about business. We had a great following of people. We had great programming, great coaching, and that's where we built our reputation. And that's kind of what we ran off of. That fall, Alexis O'Brien, our current facility manager, started with us as an intern, as she was now in her last year at Human Kinetics at Ottawa U. So it was kind of a full circle moment for me. I met Alexis as a young soccer athlete over at OSPC when we were training the Cumberland Cobras. I met a lot of young soccer girls there, and actually that's where I met Taryn, our current massage therapist. We can get into that one a little bit later. So Alexis was training with me and a small group of her friends at OSPC, and they decided to follow us over. And after a summer of her training, I guess she got to kind of a similar position as me and decided to, or wasn't really sure what she wanted to do for internship. So I said, you know what, like we could use you on the floor. If you are interested in this type of thing, we could help you learn how to become a coach and a trainer. And we could also use some help at the front desk because, we didn't really have a receptionist. We didn't really have anyone helping us with some of the admin work. So she kind of took on 2 jobs, a paid position as like we'll call it our front desk girl, our first front desk girl. And she also did an internship with us that September to April 2016, learning how to become a coach. So we didn't really have any staff. It was just me and my 2 partners who did pretty much everything. We were open at 6 or 7 a.m. until 8 or 9 or 10 p.m. with the Mavericks. So they were very long days. But that's what we knew to expect that. We didn't want to have any staff on the payroll because, we were in our first year of business. We wanted to just try to keep everything in-house as much as we could. We weren't really sure what the first year would look like, so we tried to keep it as small of an operation as possible. And driving from Stittsville to the gym, morning and night was it was a wild experience. I knew owning my own business would be tough, but it's quite strenuous. I didn't really leave much hours left of the day by the time I got home. When you get home as a business owner, you're not just like done for the day. You're looking at your laptop, you're making programs for the next day. You might be looking at numbers, trying to pay bills, forecasting revenue for months to come. It was a challenging time. And just to mention that the clinic at this point was almost non-existent in 2015. We had a massage therapist that was renting out some space from us. But really the whole clinic was like empty aside from one room. And it was nice having, a massage therapist. A lot of our hockey guys benefited from the treatments that she was able to provide over that first summer. And that was kind of year one. So going into year two, that's when Dr. Lin, the chiropractor, joined us in January. He had just finished chiropractic school at CMCC in Toronto. And we were in HK together. So, the time that I spent at OSPC training and learning how to become a strength coach, he was becoming a chiropractor. And as soon as he got out of school, he reached out, or I reached out to him, I can't remember. And he became, the clinic started to take shape a little bit. We had two clinicians in the clinic, one chiropractor, one massage therapist. And the idea of having a clinic started to kind of develop around this time. In 2016, we're also really trying to push for that adult population. Like I mentioned, we're realizing that we had a gap in our model where it was really heavily focused on athletes. But as we know, athletes are seasonal. We had good summers with the hockey. We had, a strong October to May with volleyball. But, the daytime business wasn't really there. It wasn't at the level that we wanted it to be at. So we spent a lot of time trying to just drum up business there. I think that year we also secured our contract with the Navan grads. When now we're going into our 9th year with the Junior A Hockey Club. Used to be called the Cumberland grads. So again, like the athlete stuff was really buzzing. We had guys like Mark Mathod, Derek Brassard, Nick Baptiste, Eric Odell in our summer program. So that always helped pull in more hockey kids year to year. And sometime in 2016 is where we started to have some partner troubles. My younger partner started to fall out of our triangle. Without getting into too much detail, he had some other ambitions in the domain of real estate that kind of, took him away from what we needed him to do at Capital Strength in our very, very early years. And it really started to rub my older partner the wrong way. I was kind of in the middle trying to, be the mediator, trying to keep us all together. But, ultimately, I was kind of given an ultimatum to, pick one or the other. And, my older partner being, married with a child and trying to put food on the table for his family, I just saw a way better future staying with him and growing the business with him because, he had a family to provide for and he was the more experienced of all of us. And it just made sense for me to stay with him. And he was really a true professional, still is, and taught me how to become a true professional. So it was a no-brainer for me. It was a tough decision for me to make, but it was the one that needed to be made. And by fall 2016, we were down to 2 partners. The younger one had parted. We had to go through a whole process with lawyers, lots of back and forth. In terms of ugly, I don't know. I'm sure it gets a lot uglier, but for us, it felt strenuous and stressful. Doing this while trying to continue running the business and, trying to, I guess, hide it from everybody. Although, I'm sure it was, obvious at the time when the younger partner was rarely around. I think he finally got bought out by September 2016. and we were just two of us, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air because now the two of us could just run the gym the way that we wanted to, and it was less stressful. The tension was gone, and it was what we needed at the time. And around that same time is when we hired Ian Perry. Funny enough, Ian had actually reached out to me, I think the previous year. He was working at a spot called On the Ice in Cornwall. Most people know that Ian is from Cornwall. If you don't, now you do. That guy still lives there and drives in every morning to Capital Strength. He's a crazy man with one hell of a work ethic on him. We hope that one day he moves here to Ottawa, and I'm confident that one day he will. But for now, he is still a Cornwall boy. So sometime in 2015, when he knew that we opened Capital Strength, he actually reached out, I believe, looking for a job opportunity. And like I mentioned earlier, we were trying to keep our team small. We were trying to keep things in-house, and I had to tell him, like, sorry, like at this moment, we're not looking to hire, but thanks for reaching out, and I'll keep you in mind. Well, fast forward to about a year later, our youngest partner had just left, and now we needed some more staff on hand. We reached out to Ian, and he joined us, and it was history after that. So he's been a great addition to the team. It's crazy to look back and think that he's been with us for like 8 or 9 years now. The guy has grown as a coach and as a person tremendously. Super proud of the guy. He's a massive, massive part of Capital Strength now, and couldn't imagine the gym without him at this point. 2016 ended with me proposing to Casey. So that was an exciting time in my life, busy, crazy time. So a wedding to plan moving forward into 2017. We hired Alexis. I want to say probably sometime in 2016 after her internship. So now 2017, we were a staff of 4, me, my older partner, Ian, and Alexis. And the push to continue to grow the personal training and the classes were still kind of top priority for us, as our name in the athlete world was still strong and still gaining momentum. We were getting lots of referrals for our programs. Our contract with the Mavs is going really, really well. And yeah, I mean, we still did all the hours between the 4 of us, which was crazy. It's always stressful when someone gets sick. It's like someone else has to kind of pick up the slack, and there wasn't much room left to pick up slack because we were all working quite a few hours to make the whole thing go. And it was around that time where, in 2017, I started to think like, did I make the right choice? Am I going to be able to do this forever? I kind of started to have the same feelings that I had back at OSPC where is this sustainable? Can I raise a family? I'm leaving the house at 4:30 in the morning to open the gym at 6. I'm there until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, driving back to Stittsville, sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, not able to spend much time with my wife. Luckily, I had an agreement with my partner that I wasn't really ever working weekends. He didn't want to work nights because he had kids at home. I didn't want to work weekends because I wanted to, just be at home, I guess, and spend some time with my wife and be away from the gym. So that was kind of our agreement. But the hours were crazy. And I remember several nights on the way home, just calling our accountant and being like, man, what did I do? What am I doing? Is this feasible? What's the future going to hold for me here? I wasn't really sure. And his advice was always just get to the end of the lease. We're 2017, the lease is up in 2020. Let's just get a little bit closer to that. And then you can decide if you want to wind it up or if you want to keep going. So, I never, ever wanted to fail. I never wanted to wave the white flag. So for me, getting up that early in the morning, every morning, as hard as it was never an option not to. There was something inside of me, driving to work. It's pitch black. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, knowing that all of my friends, everyone that I knew was still sleeping. And I'm grinding my ass off, trying to run this business, trying to create more business at work and trying to make a go of this thing. There was this fire inside me that, as much as it weighed on me, as I wasn't sure the longevity and the future of being a gym owner, what it had in store for me, I had something inside me, just like I was very proud of myself for putting in the hours that I did, working as hard as I did to continue to push the gym forward. And that motivated me to keep going every day. So, that's kind of what 2017 felt like, is just like overwhelming amount of work. We were making money, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't, something that I thought that I could retire off of. It was really just like something to bide the time until I could figure out what was next. And, I thought about firefighting. I thought about maybe real estate or something like that. My mind was still at the point where I was thinking about what I could do next, because I wasn't confident that I could do this forever. 2017 kind of ended. I got married late that summer. Business was getting better. Our personal training was growing. Ian and Alexis started to develop a personal training roster, which was really cool. And business was decent, but it was still very challenging on behind closed doors. Like it was it was more than I had expected. So challenges from that era were just like learning how to run a business, realizing that being a good coach and a good program writer doesn't necessarily transition or translate to dollars and more business. For some reason I thought, we write these awesome programs and we coach so well, like for sure we're going to be successful, but there was still like a lot of marketing and things that were missing, I guess, to pull business in. So it was, it was definitely a big kind of eye opener there. Learning how to work with partners obviously was a big challenge in that first era, handling differences and realizing that, business and money changes people. We were warned, don't go into business with friends, but at the time, we were so, focused on what we thought we could do that we just ignored all that. And I don't regret, going into business with them. I think it was necessary. It made sense at the time. And I mean, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't. So there's zero regrets. Lots of great lessons learned. And we learned how to manage and, learn how to lead a little bit of a staff in that first era. Wins from that era, like positive notes, were gaining the experience of managing a business, relieving some partner tension and partner problems, moving from 3 to 2. We built a really positive reputation within the hockey and athlete community. Good word of mouth was spreading, and business was growing slowly and organically. And, we had survived the first 3 years. So that was kind of a wrap up of that first era. And now we'll enter chapter 2. The second era is sole ownership. So 2018 was a really big year for me and the business. I think we added on Ashley as a chiropractor in the spring. Similar to Erin, she had just finished her chiro college. She was 2 or 3 years behind Dr. Lynn, and Dr. Ashley joined us, which was nice. So now the clinic was kind of growing. 2 chiropractors, a massage therapist. We also had a strength coach add to the team. We had Bianca Paiement, who was a rugby girl who I think she was just doing her master's. We got put in touch with her through someone that I knew at Ottawa U. She was awesome, very passionate about training athletes, and an awesome addition to the team, another female coach, which was great. We only had Alexis at the time, so having another female coach was really helpful for us. And during this time, this is where Scott and I started to part ways. We just had different goals and different ideas of the future. He, I guess, with the business struggles, wasn't really looking to continuing to manage people, manage a staff, have teams, have the evenings and the weekends to worry about. This was kind of straining on his personal life and his family life, and I totally understood. But for me, like, you get into business to hopefully have something that you can scale. And I feel like we were still in that chapter of trying to scale the business, growing the staff. And I thought there was still something good there to work on. And like I said earlier, I did not want to quit, didn't want to wave the flag, didn't want to shut it down. So we decided to part ways. he took off and did his own thing, still in the fitness industry. And I stayed back and I became the sole owner of Capital Strength in 2018, which was extremely scary for me. But at the same time, it was empowering. Now all the decisions were mine to make. The direction of the business was mine to control. And, anything that I felt like I was held back from doing while being in business with a partner, now I had the free reign to do. So the scary part was that our hockey program was very much kind of influenced by my older partner. He was really the hockey guy. He had all the pro guys training with him. I had younger guys with me, and I was worried that like that would kind of not tarnish, but like kind of hurt our reputation a little bit. So I really started to double down on marketing and promotion for the gym itself, especially the hockey program. I started to invest in the brand and working with Robin to strengthen our brand. I was going on lots of road trips to watch our hockey guys play because I wanted to know that they were worth my time and my investment. I was able to recruit some new players doing that as well, which was nice. And it was a lot of fun, like going on road trips to the US to watch NCAA games on the weekends. I did a lot of those and a lot of great memories from doing that. And it was a great kind of time to do that. That's something that we never did when it was just me and my partner. So it felt like something new that I was doing that would kind of help the culture and the community within the business, and help create some more recognition within our hockey program, and it did. So that same year, I really tried to force myself into learning more about business itself. I tried to optimize whatever I could. There's one book in particular, and I mentioned this before on another podcast with people that really flipped the switch for me. It was called the E Myth. I think it's called the Entrepreneur's Myth. It essentially kind of gave me perspective on the difference between working in your business and working on your business, and made me realize that until 2018, I was dead caught working in my business almost exclusively, being at the front lines, writing all the programs, training all the groups, being the face of the business. And it in a way, it kind of bit me in the butt because everyone that would come in would ask for me, and it just wasn't sustainable. So that's really when I started to pull myself away from the floor. We had staff, a kind of a growing small team of staff at the time. I was trying to give them more responsibilities so that they felt more invested themselves in the gym. I find the best way to make someone kind of proud of where they work is to give them more skin in the game, or more reason to be proud is to give them, duties, programs, projects, and tasks within the business that help build the business up that they can say, like I did that. So that was a very pivotal moment in the gym in 2018, where I, forced myself to work more on it and less in it. And it was kind of a gamble that I took, and it ended up paying off. Ultimately, my goal at this point, now being the sole owner, was to create an amazing team environment. I wanted everyone to be paid well. I wanted the vibes to be high, the energy to be high. I wanted the workplace to be the best workplace possible, because I knew ultimately that that's what keeps people around. I found myself leaving my prior place of work because I felt underappreciated, undervalued. I felt like my efforts weren't really getting me anything kind of extra or ahead. And my goal was essentially to make sure that what happened to me wouldn't happen to anybody within my staff. So I worked very hard at that and still do. I pride myself on treating my team like gold, because without the team, there really is no business. This gym has gotten to the size that I could never run it on my own. I never could. And good help is very hard to find. Most people know that these days. So I wanted to make sure the help that I had stayed around. So, like I said, just creating opportunities for my staff to be proud, giving them new responsibilities. and allowing them to have some freedom in what they were doing at the gym. That gave me more time to work on stuff behind the scenes, develop business, work on marketing, work on optimizing our business systems. And it really was a game changer for me. I went on I think I remember going on like a weekend course. It was half coaching, half business. And coming back from that, I was like totally set on fire to just continue to engage in business education. And it kind of changed the course of Capital Strength forever. I came back with so much more knowledge about how to manage people, how to manage the gym, how to manage leads, how to acquire leads, convert them. And it was a really kind of great time for me. And that's exactly what I needed at the time, was something to really give me like a push to really take the business to the next level if I was going to make it to the end of the lease and beyond. And at this point, this is where I started to think, like, if it's just me doing this, maybe there is a future. If I can continue to have staff working for the gym, if I can make them feel like they can develop a career that they can actually raise a family on as well, then we actually have ourselves a business that is set up for sustainability and longevity. So that remained my focus for the rest of that year. I want to say Mason joined us for a summer in 2018. He was on pace to graduate the following fall. He had one more semester left. I actually reached out to Mason, and another cool story is that I used to train Mason when he was in AAA hockey, a part of the 67s contract that we worked with. And I knew that he went to Queens for kinesiology, just like Ian did. And then I caught wind of him spending time at Gary Roberts in summer of 2017, I want to say. So when I noticed that, I think I noticed it on Instagram or something, I made a mental note to make sure that I reached out to Mason when he was done school to offer him a position, because a guy like that who I'd, already trained before, who was obviously into the field with the experience, spent a summer with Gary Roberts, which is, an incredible opportunity. I thought he'd be a great fit. So reached out to him. He came to join us for the summer of 2018. He went back to school for fall 2019 and then came back full-time in January of 2019 as a strength coach for Capital Strength. In 2019, it was like the first year that I was totally on my own as a business owner, as the gym owner. The agreement with my older partner was finally dealt with, and here I was driving the proverbial ship and trying to steer us towards a road of success. I actually loved the challenge and I loved the new responsibility. It gave me exactly what I needed at the time. It put a huge fire under my ass to perform and try to be the best, boss, business owner, and version of myself possible. It was in 2019 that I actually created myself a little office in the back of the clinic. Some people will remember this before the renovation happened in 2021, that there was like a little bar in the lobby, which is now our personal training studio, but that bar was basically my desk. So, it was nice because it was central in the gym, but it came with the caveat of, being steps away from the front door. So anytime someone would come into the gym, like, I'd greet them. I'd always want everyone to feel greeted and welcomed in our facility. But if I was at my laptop and I was working and into some deep work, I would constantly get disturbed. So, I knew that that was something that had to change too. I needed to put myself in a position where I could like lock myself away and get deep work done when needed. So I created myself an office in 2019, which was a very important move for me. It sounds small, but that was instrumental in what happened in the years to come. We slowly started to work into more to bigger classes and more general population. More personal training was coming through the doors thanks to word of mouth, and now we were really working with social media and Instagram, Facebook to try to get some ads going. 2019, we also started our contract with École Maurice Lapointe. We're going on our 5th year with them. So one of the guys that I came to Ottawa U with, Pat Fortin, I consider him my best friend still. He is now at He is at EML as a teacher, as a front runner for the sport program. So most people know Louis Riel and the awesome programs that they have there. This school is like the equivalent on a smaller scale French school out in Canada that offers a sports program, and we offer strength and conditioning to that school twice a week. Ian was the kind of pioneer of that program. We put him in the running seat there for a few years, and now it's Mason who runs that program. So that was something new and really great for the gym at that time. It was a contract that was off-site, so that was really something cool and special. We also started a contract with Final Round Boxing that year. Literally one day, the owner of the gym walked in and said, "Hey, I need someone to train my fighters." And lucky enough, Mason was very passionate about fighting and training and strength and conditioning for combat sports. So he took the lead on that contract. So we had lots of cool boxers through the gym that year. And it was neat. We had some new things kind of popping off in the gym. Our brand was becoming more recognized. Our presence on Instagram was becoming stronger. We were posting regularly, educational posts, highlight posts. And we were starting to get some traction there, which was nice. I started to invest in branding. In fact, the hat that I'm wearing now is one of the first garments that we made post, partnership split. I thought that having some clothing for people to wear would kind of enhance the culture and the community. It'd be a way for us to kind of get recognized outside of the gym. And it did exactly that. It was really awesome. We still make clothing today, but that's kind of where it all started. Just, not to make money, but just to essentially market ourselves. When someone wears a shirt somewhere, a hat somewhere, and the conversation starts, where's that from? They talk about your gym, and there's an opportunity for someone to speak highly about your business. And you never know, you might convert a customer from something as simple as wearing a hat. That year, I also decided to invest in some more gym equipment. We got the ski ergs, we got more Airdynes, we got some sports science technology. I dove into sports science a lot that year to try to revamp our hockey program. Without my older partner there and his following of professional athletes, I needed something different to set us apart from other hockey gyms and to try to make us top tier. So I really dove into some sports science, specifically for the hockey and volleyball athletes, which included work with velocity-based training and jump profiling, and that kind of reshaped our hockey program and volleyball program going forward. The athletes loved it. It created more word of mouth, which had a very positive impact on our hockey program, and it was a really cool year of just kind of reinvesting for the future and reshaping some of our programs at Capital Strength. Challenges from that era was obviously another partnership change, taking on the full risk myself and pulling myself off the floor in terms of coaching to focus more on developing the business and making sure that the business was going to continue to grow in the right direction. Wins or positives from that era were the brand was certainly strengthened thanks to Robin being more active on social media, having some more social events for our members and our community. We were just getting noticed more. I think we were on CTV once or twice in that time. I was heavily investing in the staff and the environment and the culture just to double down on the people that were so important to Capital Strength. And I was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel as we approached, the end of the 5-year lease now. We're approaching 2020. I started to think, you know what, I think there's a future here. I definitely want to take another 5-year lease to try to see where this thing can go and where I can take it. All right, so now we're entering chapter 3, the pandemic. Wow. Everyone has memories from that period of time in their lives. I don't think I'll ever forget the pandemic. It affected everybody in a different way. Everyone struggled through it. I think business owners struggled tremendously through it. And for myself, it was like, it was super wild, especially March 2020. I re-signed another 5-year lease. Finally, Capital Strength was a, operating business. I was able to take myself off of the personal guarantee, which was a very relieving feeling. I um, decided to buy a house with my wife. We moved closer to the gym. She is a nurse, so we got closer to the hospital for her. It worked really well for both of us. So that nightmare drive from Stittsville to Capital Strength was over, thankfully. And we decided to turn our condo in Stittsville into a rental unit. So that was kind of all happening in March. At the same time, we found out that we were having our first child. We gotten pregnant, and we were going to have a child in September 2020. And all of this is happening, early March. I think we found out the first week of March about our son. I just signed a new lease. We had just bought a house and about to turn our condo into a rental, and then boom, COVID hits. And within a week or two, my whole life felt like it had flipped upside down. I was now on the hook for a lease at the gym, a mortgage on our new home, and a mortgage on our rental property without any tenants in it just yet. And the pandemic had been declared. The gym shut down on March 16th, 2020, with my birthday. I'll never forget that. And I had no one in my rental. My gym was closed. How could I make money if my gym was closed? And we had a child on the way. And it was just like, what just happened? It was extremely stressful time in my life. I'll never, ever forget it. Luckily for me, we found a tenant shortly after. The pandemic changed a lot of things, but people still needed places to live. So I was able to get a tenant in there really quick. So I dodged that bullet. My landlord is an amazing guy. He assured me very early on that one way or another we would get through this and to not stress about it. So that was helpful. And then I remember calling my mortgage company to put our mortgage on pause, because that was like a thing that you could do in the pandemic. So, I had 2 mortgages and a lease on my head at one point without knowing how I'd pay any of them. And within a few weeks, I had solutions for all of them. And that's kind of how the pandemic started for me, with a massive, massive bomb went off in my life. But we quickly kind of got around that. And obviously the pandemic brought a lot of other challenges. Opening and closures of the gym was crazy. But at the same time, a lot of good things happened. I think our community as a whole, the CSTS family, really kind of clung together. We created Facebook groups and Instagram workouts, and we were able to connect in different ways and be there for each other in different ways, which, like I said, really strengthened our community. COVID presented some challenges that forced us to kind of level up from a business standpoint. So believe it or not, up to 2020, we were like a pen and paper type of business. Like we never had a client management system. Like we didn't have the app that we have today to sign up for classes or do memberships. It was kind of a nightmare. I don't even want to explain how we did it before, but it was not efficient at all. So COVID presented lots of restrictions that we had to respect when we were open. So getting on board with the client management system was a must. So that's something that we did, and it actually changed our business for the better, for good. Now we're able to offer free trials, and people come into the gym without us even knowing them prior to, because their friend passed on the link to get a free trial. And yeah, it was just it's funny how massive problems actually created solutions in other ways. And it was a challenge, but it was also an opportunity in some ways. So The hardest part about COVID was just being closed all the time. When we were open, we would gain some traction and we were busy because everyone was starving to get active and to be outside of their house and outside of lockdown. And then when we were closed, it was, back to online and trying to offer outdoor workouts or just trying to figure out how we would navigate the next set of restrictions that were placed upon us. So it was a lot of back and forth. There's always rules to abide by and changes that we needed to be made in the gym to respect the restrictions, whether it was cleaning or capacity or vaccinations. There was all kinds of things that were thrown at us that were very hard to navigate, but we did it, and it brought our team closer together. It brought our community closer together. People were starving for connection, for exercise, and we provide, exactly that. We're not just a gym. We are a family, and our family stepped up for one another during that time. I remember our community was so supportive of us staff. There were so many of them that continued to pay their memberships throughout this challenging time. We had, I think every single one of the staff had meals delivered to them from clients or Uber Eats delivered to them. It was like a crazy, overwhelming time in so many ways, but it really highlighted how awesome of a community, how tight-knit of a group that we have in that building. People's true colors really showed during that time, and it was, I wish we never had to go through it, but at the same times, the things that I learned, the changes that we made are things that I appreciate and I will forever. During that time, going back to just like business operations, the clinic started to get a little bit busier because they were still essential and they were working. So people that were, at home not working or not doing much, they actually started to take care of their injuries a little bit more. So our clinic, thankfully, was still making money as they were essential. And that's where I started to maybe, I think, take some time to develop that part of the business because it was the only part that was really active during these closures. So, trying to put together a plan for the future clinic and trying to use the same model I used with the staff where if you can make their environment and their life so good, they'll want to stick around forever. So that's kind of the philosophy I use with all of the staff, clinicians, and coaches at the gym, and it's really worked well for us as a business. We have an amazing team that love their job, love their community, love their work environment, and they get compensated well. And, what else would you really like to have in a job other than those things, right? So using that same model for the clinic helped me attract some new clinicians. And 2020 also brought us Coach Donnie. He joined us as part of his internship with Ottawa U. He was playing on the football team. And when his internship was done, we had such amazing feedback from everybody in our community about Don that it was like impossible not to hire him. So he got hired, and the poor guy, as soon as he got hired, it's kind of when COVID happened. So, he was kind of in and out of work just like all of us in his first year, which was frustrating, but he just kept pushing and kept working with all of us, even through the closures. Our entire team put in work day in and day out to just keep things going as best we could and be ready for the next opening. 2021 came around, and we started off with a closure or lockdown of some sort. There was another wave happening, and I took the opportunity to renovate the inside of the gym. We had, I think, a 2-month closure window. I called a friend who was into home renovations and into construction. And I was like, hey, listen, like this lobby that we have here is not serving us anymore. We need a personal training studio. We're only allowed 10 people in the gym. And when those 10 people are in the gym, none of my trainers can do personal training or work otherwise, because all we have in the gym is a space for 10 people, as far as the government was concerned. So while we were closed, we created the new workspace that you see as soon as you walk into the gym. We created the personal training studio, which was awesome for us, so that we could have, a couple staff working in there with their clients while classes were happening. And it was like the most perfect time because it didn't affect business at all. We were closed at the time. So it was just perfect timing to make that kind of upgrade in our space. All the staff had a designated working area so they could do programming and deep work when they needed to. They had a place to, a locker and a cubby, and it just felt like more of a team place. So like it was such a pivotal moment for us at such a time of need. I'm so glad that we went through with that expansion at the time, because it really got us on the right foot for 2021. We still battled some closures with COVID, obviously, but every time that we would reopen, we had new faces. And it was around this time that we really started pushing the stories for our classes and tagging members. And naturally, as you tag someone, they repost it, their friend sees it. Oh, what gym are you at? Mine just closed. I'd like to come there, check it out. And it just kind of brought us more and more clientele. Every time we reopened, we'd reopen with like new faces, new business. And I think we were offering something unique at a time where to work out during the pandemic, you had to book a slot at your commercial gym. You had 1 hour to try to get your workout in. You had to try to work in with other people at the gym. If you wanted to start your workout with squats and the squat racks were already taken, you had to go and try something else. There's all the cleaning that you had to do. And I think it was just a nightmare for most people. So as much as we came at a little bit more of a premium rate than your average commercial gym, we offered so much value, in and out in 60 minutes. Fantastic workout, definitely more work done in 60 minutes with us than you'd ever get on your own. An amazing community of people to support you and be there for you. Great coaches to lead you through the workout and help you with your technique. We offered an amazing product and service, and people were starting to leave their Movadis and their good lives to come and see us. And at the same time, OAC had just closed. And yeah, I never really thought that it would impact our business so much, but I'm pretty sure that we got a lot of business from that move. We were right in the neighborhood, a couple kilometers away, and people were looking for something, right? And when we delivered, and we got a lot of new young professionals from that time, 2021, that are still with us today. And that really kind of changed the face of Capital Crew and really took it to the next level. I would say that that's kind of when we landed on the map of, group fitness, is like sometime in 2020 or 2021, because of COVID to some degree. And it was, like I said, it came with a lot of challenges, the pandemic era, but it also presented a lot of opportunities that benefited us. And we're thankful for the people that found us and the people that they spread their good word to, because Capital Strength or Capital Crew is a whole different program now because of them. During that same time in 2021, Alexis and Olivia joined our therapy team. Alexis as a pelvic floor physiotherapist and Olivia as a massage therapist. And then Michelle joined us as an intern that year, and then joined the team full-time in May of 2021 after she graduated. So we had 2 years of back-to-back intern hires, two amazing staff, two amazing people that bring so much energy to the gym every day. So thankful for those guys. So that was kind of the pandemic era in a nutshell. The challenges were obviously the pandemic itself, the closures, the restrictions, having to navigate through that, dealing with the unknown. You never know how long you're going to be open for, when the next closure is going to come. That was just so frustrating. But the wins from that era were that we took those opportunities to optimize our business systems. Our community got a lot stronger. Our classes become more popular, and we got a lot of new young members from that time. So we kind of came out of the pandemic with a win. And I know that's not the same case for all businesses, especially in the fitness world, but we were very fortunate enough to come out of the pandemic with arguably a better business. And now we enter chapter 4, the last chapter of today's podcast, the post-pandemic. So, 2022 to 2024. At this point, Capital Crew and personal training are at their highest. Every single coach has a roster of clients. Capital Crew is booming. There are new members coming all the time, thanks to our new client management software and all the new members spreading the word of mouth. We're riding a really nice wave of momentum coming out of the pandemic. Almost every coach on the staff are working full-time hours, which is really awesome to see. And now having a clinic of 4 or 5 clinicians and a staff of, I want to say 5 or 6 at the time. The team itself was as big as it's ever been, 10 or 11 people. And I looked back and could say, like, all right, we've got ourselves a real business now that's working with multiple people working for it, multiple people providing for it, making careers out of it. And that for me was such a satisfying moment to be able to look back in 2022 and be like, wow, we were once a place where it was just 3 owners working every single hour, and now there's 10 people working here making a career out of it. It was really something special, and it just motivated me further to invest in those guys, our team, and continue to make our workplace as positive as an experience as possible in their life, so that it can continue to grow and flourish the way that it has been. Our community continued to flourish in that time. Lots of relationships have been built. I've seen really cool things like people starting dating to getting engaged. I've seen people get pulled into other people's wedding parties, becoming groomsmen or bridesmaids just from meeting someone at the gym. We have so many awesome professionals in our gym that I see, people buying their first house with real estate agents from our gym, people getting roofs put on their home from roofers in our gym. It's just, there's so much of that happening. Literally anything you need in our community from any profession that's out there, I almost guarantee we have it somewhere in Capital Strength. So keep that in mind if you're listening. If you need a contractor, a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent, you name it, we probably have it in our community or have someone that can help you. In 2023, I want to say, that's when we got Dr. Dave and Kara joining us, adding even more ammunition to our clinic. Now we have, a star-studded lineup of clinicians working for Capital Strength Therapy. Really awesome for me to look back at, a clinic that just had 1 massage therapist to now a clinic that had 5 clinicians working full time. It was really a proud moment for me. And I know that there is more potential in that clinic, and, we'll let you guys in on some of the growth that's happening there in future podcasts. 2023 also brought my second born son. So that was a cool part of 2023. Now I'm a father of 2. And we'll dive into 2024 here, our current year, where notable mentions are, just so we made some basic improvements to the clinic to just optimize it. That we got new tables. We now offer shockwave therapy. We now offer bracing within our clinic. So we're really trying to become, recognizable in the city for the services that we offer. We're trying to get up to par with the other clinics in the city. And that's thanks to the amazing clinicians that we have working there. Made some improvements in the gym, adding our treadmill, adding the cable systems that everyone has now. And that just opens up more options for our classes, personal training, and athletic development. This year, we introduced Mason's Weekday Warrior Boot Camp, which has been a really big hit for the guys out there. Alexis with the Baby and Me program, which has been honestly absolutely fantastic to watch grow and develop. I had no idea how a Baby and Me program would run within our facility, but it's honestly been incredible, not only for us, but for the moms who join it and work in it. I know it's something special for them. They've created their own community of moms in there, newborn babies. Some of them are new moms. Some of them have several kids, and it's just really cool to see moms come together doing something for themselves that's important for their body, for their health, for their mental health. And it's really something special for us to be able to say that we offer that now. And it's it's got a wait list. It's sold out every time that we run the program. We try to run it 3, 4, 5 times a year. So really proud of Alexis and her work there, and the fact that we can offer something like that now. 2024 was also the birth of the CSTS Run Club, led by Ian Perry. There's a huge community of runners in our city and within our community. It was really awesome to be part of that this summer and see people come out to train for their marathons, half marathons, 10Ks, or just come out for a leisurely run. I myself am not a runner and got into running this year because of it. And we look forward to growing that program even more and having more offerings for it. 2024 also brought us Taryn Forrester, our newest massage therapist, who's an absolute delight here at Capital Strength. She's a fantastic clinician and an amazing person. It's awesome to see her now joining the classes and be part of our community. And we also added a strength coach, Jacob Furland. Really cool story there. He was once a young maverick when we first started that contract. At 15 years old, he was in our gym training with his team, went on to university to play volleyball, and continued to train with us in the off seasons for Brock as he played for Brock. And now that he's graduated his kinesiology degree, he is now one of our staff. So like a really full circle moment to have trained him as an athlete, watch him go through university, and now have him on our staff is just like fantastic for me to see that. So yeah, it's kind of a wrap up of the last 10 years. Tried to make it as brief as I could while including all the milestones and highlights. I'm so extremely proud of the team that I've built over the last 10 years, and even prouder of the community that has been born inside the walls of Capital Strength. It is so strong now. It is continuing to grow. There's new people being added to it all the time, and relationships that are being formed all the time. It's just so beautiful for me to see. On any given weekend or day, I see stories or posts of members hanging out with other members that they otherwise didn't know beforehand, and it's just like, yeah, it's hard to put into words. It's really, really special. I want to make a few key community mentions here, just back to some of the females in our Capital Strength community, watching them get pregnant as Capital crew members and then have their baby, come back as baby and me, and then back into Capital crew. And now they're bringing their husbands, for example. Like seeing that kind of, again, full circle is really incredible. Like I said, I've seen people be invited to other people's weddings, even be in their wedding parties, seeing some of the members dating, which is kind of funny, but good to know that we have a nice, healthy community out there that can start relationships outside of the gym. There's friends that are traveling together, going to concerts together, people expanding their networks of their small business. We have photographers in the gym. We have real estate, like I said, lawyers, roofers, construction. Everyone using each other within our community is just such an awesome thing to see. Again, if you need any trade or personal service, we probably have it. And yeah, just to wrap up the last 10 years, it's been a wild ride. I've learned a lot about life, a lot about relationships, and a lot about business. I definitely was not a businessman when I first started, but I can consider myself one now, 10 years into the game. It's been incredible. We have an amazing team of coaches and clinicians that care so much about the people they work with and the community that they work with. We have an even more amazing community in the gym that really makes us who we are today. We have a great reputation in the city, and I look forward to expanding it further. We have an expansion in the horizon, so we'll stay tuned. You'll have to stay tuned for that as we get closer to that. I'll explain more. I look forward to growing both the strength team and the therapy team in 2025. Our 10th anniversary is coming up in the spring, and there will be a party, a celebration of some sort there. So I look forward to sharing that with you guys. We have a community event coming up on November 15th. So please stay tuned for details. And our future episodes will include a lot of one-on-one interviews with the entire team. One episode at a time, I'll get through the entire team. I look forward to interviewing some of our athletes, members of the community, and industry experts so we can take a deep dive into chats about health, fitness, rehab, business, and more. Guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this first episode. It means a lot to me if you made it this far. I'm really excited about this journey and having the opportunity to highlight the great people of Capital Strength through this channel. Give us a follow if you haven't yet. Check us out on our website if you haven't yet, www.capitalstrengthts.com. Follow us on Instagram if you're not already, capital_strength_TS. And stay tuned. Make sure you're getting our emails if you're in our community, because we always have things going on for the members of our community. And I look forward to seeing you guys back on here soon for episode 2 with... You'll have to hang around and find out. Peace out, CSTS fam. Thanks for having me.